You didn't cry the first day. You didn't scream. You didn't fall to the ground in some dramatic collapse like in the movies. No, you just sat there, quiet, staring at a message that said it was over, like your entire world had been paused mid-sentence. You read it twice, 3 times. Your fingers hovered over your phone, not knowing whether to reply, delete, or pretend it never arrived. Because how could it be over when your heart was still holding on? Denial isn't loud. It's the whisper in your chest that says, "They'll call tomorrow. Maybe they just need space. This isn't real, it can't be." So you keep sleeping on your side of the bed. You leave their shampoo in the shower. You even avoid opening the bottom drawer because their hoodie is still in their hand. Folding it feels too final. Your friends say you have to move on. But they don't see the war happening in your mind. The desperate attempt to keep the dream alive. You replay your last conversation. You search their last text for a hidden message. You convince yourself, they'll remember how we laughed. They'll miss the way I loved them. This isn't naivety. This is your heart protecting itself from collapse. Denial is your soul asking for one more moment before reality hits. It's not weakness. It's survival. But eventually, the silence grows louder. Days pass. No call. No apology. They don't come back. And then the pain shifts. The disbelief begins to burn. And from that fire, something fierce rises inside you. Then comes the anger. You start asking questions. Not soft ones, but sharp, jagged ones like broken glass. How could they leave so easily? Did they ever really love me? Why did I give them so much of me? You remember the times you forgave things you shouldn't have. The moments you stayed silent when your heart was screaming. The ways you made yourself smaller just to keep their love. And now you're furious. Not just at them, but at yourself for hoping. For waiting, for believing. Anger doesn't always look like yelling. Sometimes it's silent rage while folding laundry. Sometimes it's slamming a drawer shut because their favorite mug is still inside. Sometimes it's deleting a playlist and then undeleting it 30 seconds later. You want justice, closure, a confession. You want them to feel the ache you carry, to understand the weight of the love they left behind. But here's the truth. Anger, like denial, is another way your soul tries to process grief. Because heartbreak is grief. You didn't just lose a person. You lost a rhythm, a future, a version of yourself that existed only with them. Anger is sacred. It says, I mattered. It says, what happened to me wasn't fair. It reminds you that your love was real and that your pain is valid. So don't rush past it. Don't silence your anger to be the bigger person. You can be kind and still be hurt. You can grieve and still be angry. Let your anger move through you like a storm. Brief, fierce, but cleansing. Yell into a pillow. Write a letter you'll never send. Take a long, fast walk with nothing but the sound of your breath. But after the fire, something soft will return. You'll find yourself whispering, if I had just said this, if I had just done that. And that's when you'll slip into the next stage. Bargaining. The stage where we try to undo the ending. But not yet. Right now, let yourself feel the collapse. Let yourself sit with what's gone. Let your heart break without guilt. Because in this breaking, you are not falling apart. You are beginning to rebuild. It begins with what if. What if you hadn't said that thing? What if you had tried harder? What if you'd been more patient, more soft, more quiet, more understanding? What if you had loved them better? Bargaining doesn't show up as begging, not always. Sometimes it's internal, a constant looping of memories and regrets. A private courtroom where you play both the accused and the defense. You negotiate with ghosts. You write unsent texts in your head. I miss you. Can we talk? If you ever think of me, just know I still care. Can we just meet one last time? You imagine the reunion. You dream of one more chance. You think, if I could just explain, maybe they'd understand. Maybe they'll realize. Maybe they'll come back. Maybe this time it'll be different. Bargaining is a heartbreak trap wrapped in hope. It convinces you that love is a deal to be made. That if you just offer the right words, the right timing, the perfect version of yourself, they'll undo the goodbye. But love isn't a contract. And closure isn't a prize you earn by suffering enough. Sometimes you even bargain with the universe. Please, let them text me, just once. I promise I'll let go after one last conversation. I'll be better just bring them back. But the silence continues. The days stretch, and the other side stays quiet. You keep checking your phone, not because you believe they'll reach out, but because some part of you still wants them to. Here's the quiet truth about this stage. It's not really about them. It's about control. Bargaining is your heart trying to make sense of chaos. It's trying to rewrite the story so the pain feels manageable. Because if you caused the breakup, then maybe you can fix it. And if you can fix it, you don't have to grieve it. But healing doesn't come from controlling the past. It comes from surrender, from sitting in the ache and admitting, even if I was perfect, they still might have left. Even if I did everything right, it still might have ended. You don't have to hate them to let go. And you don't have to get answers to move forward. You just have to stop trying to rewrite what already happened. I know it hurts. I know you still replay that last day like a film on loop. You rewrite the dialogue. You change your expression. You imagine saying something wiser, more loving, more calm, but none of it brings them back. And none of it brings you peace. Peace isn't found in imaginary conversations. Peace comes when you gently close the door, even if no one's on the other side to say goodbye. So if you're in this stage, if you're bargaining in silence, if you're aching for one last chance, if you're looking for signs in the sky, let this be your sign. Not that they'll return, but that you deserve to stop waiting. You deserve to stop chasing shadows, to stop hoping for a love that already let you go, to stop rewriting the ending in your mind while your heart forgets how to rest. Let the ending be the ending, not because you're giving up, but because you're choosing yourself now. There's a moment coming. It's quiet, but profound. It's the moment when you stop begging the past to change and start wondering if maybe you never needed them to stay in the first place. That moment is the beginning of something softer, something honest. It's not joyful, not yet, but it's clearer, still, true. And when you arrive there, you'll feel something new. Not bargaining, not panic, not resistance, just sadness. That's where we go next. Into the deepest part of the heartbreak, into the quiet ache that lingers beneath all the noise. There's a point in heartbreak when everything just stops. The anger burns out, the bargaining fades, and what's left is something softer, but heavier. It's not loud anymore. It's not desperate. It's just quiet and heavy and still. You wake up, but you don't feel awake. You eat, but nothing tastes like anything. You talk to people, but the words feel empty like echoes in a place no longer lived in. The world keeps moving, but you feel like you've been left behind. That's depression. Not the clinical kind, maybe, but the heartbreak kind. The kind that arrives when the truth finally settles in your bones. They're not coming back. This is the stage no one posts about. It's not poetic. It's not romantic. It's just lonely. You cry less now, not because it doesn't hurt, but because you're tired of hurting. You stay in bed longer, not because you're lazy, but because getting up means facing another day they're not in. Your friends say, you need to get out more. You smile and nod, but you know the truth. You don't feel like yourself, because part of you left with them. You stop listening to music. You scroll in silence. You wear the same clothes, eat the same meals, walk the same paths. You're not trying to feel better anymore. You're just trying to feel something. This stage is dangerous not because of the sadness, but because of the lies that sadness whispers. You'll never feel okay again. Maybe you weren't good enough after all. They've moved on. Why can't you? You were the problem. You'll always be hard to love. These thoughts are not truths. They're grief in disguise. They're your heart trying to make sense of pain by turning it inward. But you are not your pain. You are not your past. And you are not unlovable just because someone couldn't love you right. Right now, you may not want advice. You may not want motivation. You just want someone to sit with you in the dark and say, I know it hurts. I'm not here to fix you. I'm just here to stay until the hurt softens. Let me be that voice. Let me tell you this. Depression after heartbreak doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're processing. It means your body and heart are catching up to the reality your mind already knows. You're not falling apart. You're falling inward, into silence, into stillness, into the raw truth that love, once lost, leaves space. But space isn't always empty. Sometimes it's just waiting to be filled with new things. With you, you may not feel it now, but healing is already happening. Every time you breathe without them, every time you get through a day without reaching out, every time you cry, then fall asleep anyway. That's healing. Quiet, invisible, but real. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not soon, you'll feel a shift. A small one. You'll notice the sky looks a little less grey. The song that once broke you now feels nostalgic. You'll laugh. Not a big laugh, just a small one, but it will be yours. And it won't feel like betrayal. It'll feel like return. So if you're here now, in the hollow days, in the numbness, in the ache, don't rush. Don't force joy. Don't shame the slowness. Wrap yourself in quiet routines. Drink warm tea. Write words you'll never read again. Water your plants even when you don't feel like blooming. Speak gently to yourself even if you don't believe the kindness yet. You don't have to rise yet. You only have to stay, to keep breathing, to not disappear from yourself. Because the next stage, the softest one, is coming. And it begins not with fireworks, but with a whisper. Maybe I'll be okay someday. That's where we go next. Not back to who you were, but forward to someone softer, wiser, still tender, but stronger. There's no announcement, no bright light, no magical moment that tells you it's over now, you're healed. Acceptance arrives quietly. Like the first warm morning after a long winter, you don't notice it until you realize you aren't freezing anymore. You wake up, and for the first time in a while, you don't check your phone. Not because you forced yourself to stop, but because you simply forgot. You walk past their favorite song in your playlist and skip it, not with pain, but with peace. You find old photos and don't flinch. You smile at the memory, then put them away. You stop rehearsing what you'd say if you saw them again, because now it doesn't matter. You've made peace with the silence, with the ending, with the unanswered questions. This is not the same as being over it. Number, you still remember, you still feel, but it doesn't break you anymore. Because now you've made room for yourself. Acceptance isn't forgetting. It's forgiving, not for them, but for you. It's saying, I wish it had ended differently, but I accept how it did. And I choose to live anyway. You stop waiting for closure from someone else and start creating it from within. You realize closure was never a door they had the key to. It was yours all along. There is something deeply beautiful about surviving something you thought would break you. You carry that beauty now, not like a trophy, but like soft armor. It's in your voice, your stillness, your ability to sit with your own thoughts without crumbling. You no longer need to be held because you've learned how to hold yourself. You begin choosing differently, not from fear, but from wisdom. You no longer chase people who don't stay. You no longer beg for attention, affection, clarity. You recognize red flags faster. You honor your boundaries like they are sacred because now you know they are. And slowly, you begin to rebuild your rituals. Not us rituals, but you rituals. You light candles again, not to make a room romantic, but to make it yours. You play music while cooking dinner for yourself, not because you're lonely, but because you've learned to enjoy your own company. You speak to yourself kindly, not perfectly, not every day, but often enough that your inner voice starts to sound like a friend again. You are not who you were before them, and that's okay. That version of you was brave in her own way. She loved fully. She hoped endlessly. She gave with both hands. But now you've become someone else. Still tender, still loving, but wiser. Softer in all the places that used to scream. You don't want what you used to want. And that's not a loss. That's growth. So if you're here, in this gentle ending, this quiet beginning, know this. You didn't lose love. You found yourself. You are no longer waiting to be chosen. You are choosing you. Your peace, your presence, your life. You are not someone who was left behind. You are someone who was redirected. Back home, back to your worth, back to the love you forgot to give yourself. And when you love again, because you will, it won't be from emptiness. It won't be a grasp. It won't be fear. It will be a sharing, a soft offering, a quiet knowing. I already have everything I need within me, but I choose to share this love with someone who honors it. This is the gift of heartbreak, not just in what it takes, but in what it leaves behind, a version of you who is still standing, still open, still soft, and somehow even stronger. So take one deep breath. Feel your chest rise. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your pulse. Not racing, not panicking, just steady. That's your life. Still here, still yours. And it's waiting to be lived. Not with them, not for them, but with you. For you